This is Tank's Vlog, November 10th, 2019, wrapping up the day in sports. Wow, have we now got a college football season to behold. LSU, there is no doubt right now that they are the top team in the country, and Joe Burrow, he's really making a case for the Heisman Trophy and to be the number one pick. On Saturday, he outplayed Tua Tagovailoa. 391 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Tagovailoa did have that interception returning from his ankle injury in an absolute total shootout. The Tigers had the big lead at the half, and Alabama almost caught up to them. They were able to get back in the game, but every time Alabama scored, LSU answered. And that's what you have. That's when you know a champion. And this is in Tuscaloosa. You don't see Alabama beaten in Tuscaloosa too often. But LSU, the Tigers, go Tigers. They're definitely not the number one team in the country, even though this was 2 versus 3. Their chances are they're going to leapfrog Ohio State, although that doesn't matter with the college football playoff as it is. Ohio State, meanwhile, just trashed awful Maryland. Maryland, just a terrible team. Maryland, of course, the only team they could beat in the Big Ten is, of course, Rutgers, which, everyone beats Rutgers. But Maryland, 73-14 winners despite no Chase Young. Chase Young suspended probably for as many as 4 games. Why was Chase Young suspended? Because he took a loan so his girlfriend could watch him play in a bowl game. This from the NCAA, which is selling Chase Young jerseys, Chase Young t-shirts. Nope, can't give him a dime. The NCAA is the most hypocritical, corrupt organization in sports. I'm glad pretty soon we're going to have to start giving these players money. You know, the one thing California actually got right is this damn thing. I mean, basically, NCAA athletes are slaves. Sure, they get the college education, but of course, you know, some of these colleges, it's a degree in name only. They don't really go to classes. Just dreadful. Just another reason why the NCAA is trash is this Chase Young deal. Alone from a family friend. Get the fuck out of here, NCAA. Penn State, which was for some reason ranked number 4 despite 1 loss, got beaten by Minnesota, who was ranked 17 despite being undefeated. Is there ever more evidence that there needs to be a full playoff? 8 teams? Flush the bowl system? Maybe 16 teams? Flush the bowl system? I'm sure Minnesota is going to skyrocket and should be in the top 10 after taking down number 4 Penn State. Clemson, number 5. Smashed and demolished. So I guess you could call this demolished. NC State 55-10. They're back now in the playoff picture. Georgia, meanwhile, shut out Missouri 27-0. SEC football is alive and well. Who knows how far Alabama is going to drop? But geez, you could argue that 3 of the top 4 teams are actually from the SEC. Or at least 3 of the top 5. It was Oklahoma edging Iowa State 42-41 as the Cyclones down 21 points nearly came back and won the game in the 4th quarter as their 2-point conversion at the end of the game failed. Sooners, always good offense, very bad defense. The Gators bounced back from their loss to Georgia last week, smashing Vanderbilt 56-0. It was Baylor, also undefeated and out of the top 10, beating TCU 29-23 in overtime. Nice comeback win in that one for the Bears. Wisconsin edged Iowa in a thriller, 24-22. Notre Dame smashed Duke, 38-7. It was Texas over Kansas State, 27-24. This should get Texas back into top 25. Virginia Tech upset Wake Forest, 36-17. Cincinnati all over UConn, 48-3. Boise State survived a scare, beating Wyoming in overtime, 20-17, and SMU in a shootout over Eastern Carolina, 59-51. East Carolina is 0-6 in conference, 3-7 overall, but boy, every loss seems to be very close for them. Outside the top 10, let's see what happened this week. If there's anything of note to know about, Florida State fired their coach but got a win, responding very well going into Boston College and winning. Virginia beat Georgia Tech 33-28, and Miami over Louisville 52-27. That should get them into one of those bowl games at the very least. Texas Tech in a battle of survival beat West Virginia 38-17. Bad year for the Mountaineers. Mountaineers at 3-6, likely going to miss, not going to make a bowl this year. And West Virginia usually is a pretty much team you could count on to at least be in one of those bowls. In the Pac-12, nothing really of note. Oregon was off. Washington beat Oregon State 19-7. On Friday night, it was Colorado stunning Stanford 16-13, keeping their bowl hopes alive. USC over Arizona State 31-26. And California beat Wazoo 33-20 in a battle of 4-4 teams. And perhaps one of the more exciting games, Tennessee, which got off to a bad start, is now 5-5 after going into Kentucky and just with a couple of goal line stands holding off the Wildcats 17-13. Meanwhile, South Carolina, who earlier in the year shocked Georgia, is now reeling, falling fast, probably not even going to make a bowl game, considering they had to beat Clemson on Thanksgiving. Now 4-6, and they lost today at home to Appalachian State. Now it's not as shocking as when Michigan lost to App State all those years ago, since App State is now in the Sun Belt Conference. But oh my, what a horrible loss for the Gamecocks. Meanwhile, Arkansas lost to Western Kentucky. Ugh. Moving on to hockey, Devils, who just are playing dreadful hockey again. The awful loss on Friday night, 4-0. 2 straight losses now on the road. Any progress they had made is now gone again. It was the Islanders over the Panthers, 2-1. You know, the Islanders, it's Lou Lamoriello. It's Lou Lamoriello. The Devils should have never fucking fired Lou Lamoriello. I mean, Barry Trotz. Look at the Islanders roster. Who do they have? How are they 12-3-1? It's coaching and it's the system. The system of Lou Lamoriello. Lou Lamoriello brings the right players together. Knows that there's puzzles to put together, not just throwing a bunch of number ones out there saying, we are the ones. I've always said in Lou we trust, and the Devils should have fucking never fired him. Fucking should have never fired Lou Lamoriello. It was the Lightning 5-3 winners over the Sabres. Flyers in a shootout 3-2 over the Maple Leafs. Canadiens beat the Kings 3-2. Senators 4-1 winners over the Hurricanes. Penguins won a shootout over the Blackhawks 3-2. Capitals over the suddenly reeling Golden Knights 5-2. Wild beat the Coyotes 4-3. Avalanche buried the Blue Jackets 4-2. The Blues in overtime on David Perron's goal beat the Flames 3-2. And the Sharks took a bite out of the Predators 2-1. Moving on to the NBA. It was the Celtics 7-1 so far. You know, the Celtics now actually have a team that actually gels together. You know, sometimes you put too many stars on a team, it fails. I mean, Kyrie Irving was a square peg in a round hole in Boston, but now without him, the Celtics are meshing well. 7-1, beating the Spurs 135-115. Pelicans 115-110 winners over the Hornets. Thunder struck down the Wounded Warriors 114-108. It was the Rockets shooting down the Bulls 117-94, and the Mavericks with that Luka Doncic. Ooh, what a year start he is off to. Taking down the Grizzlies 138-122. I guess everyone should have drafted Luka number 1. Today's 3 stars are James Harden of the Rockets, nearly a triple-double, 42, 10, and 9. Joe Burrow of LSU, and Thomas Grice of the Islanders, 37 saves and just 1 goal allowed. Today's birthday shout-out goes to a forgotten slugger who was actually pretty good at one point. All-star, played for the Giants, Cardinals, Yankees, Padres, Jack Clark, who turned 64. And with the Giants and Jets playing each other in the Toilet Bowl on Sunday, we look back to a time 45 years ago in a similar situation. Giants had 2 wins. Jets were 1-7. Sound familiar? In that game at the Yale Bowl, the Giants were playing in Yale in 1973 and 1974. It was the Jets in the first game decided in overtime. This is the first time that a regular season game was decided in overtime. There had been one previous overtime game that season. That was 74 was the first year of overtime in the regular season. And that game ended in a tie. But the New York Jets beat the Giants that day. So you can check out the full story at Barstool Sports and Sports Encyclopedia, where sports history lives. Good day.